Hey, everybody, before we begin, just a quick note that this conversation may reference ongoing story arcs from our current topic, which is Hollowed Bonds. We'll try to avoid major spoilers, so if you are not caught up, consider this your gentle warning. So, here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Voices and Visions, a series where we explore the creative process behind storytelling across media. I'm your host, JL Graves, and today I am joined by a very special guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. My name's Andy. I also go by a few different names online, but presently I go by Evildoers. You may know me as a voice actor for various different games or series. The one most prominent online is probably for Aphmau as the character Gareth. But I also do my own side projects, one being as a Dungeon Master with my fellow voice actors, Kestin Howard, who you've had on here before.
Mm-hmm.
Amy Summers, who's my wife, Essie, who's a very good friend of ours and a previous voice actor, as well as PM Seymour. We finished our 2-year-long campaign about a year ago, and I've been working on the season 2 for that, and at which I just put out a preview image of, and will be putting out more soon, hopefully.
Oh, I actually haven't seen that preview image yet, so I'm gonna have to go and look after we finish recording.
Oh, okay. It's not much, but it does reveal the name of the next season.
Oh, I'm excited. I got through all of season 1 of Hollowed Bonds.
Oh,
And it's
I
so
appreciate that
good.
so much. Oh, it's funny because I look back now and there's so that was my second time ever DMing.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was, yeah. The first time was just an offline one with friends.
Okay.
But yeah, so I've learned a ton more since then. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself.
No, you're good. You're good. This is all about the fun stuff. This is a fun type of interview. But it's so great to have you here. For anyone who is discovering Hollowed Bonds for the first time, how would you describe the campaign's premise and tone?
All right, so premise-wise, oh God, how would I describe it? So I think I'll go with the tone first. The tone was definitely very heavily inspired by Dana Therese, or I think that's how you say the last name, of Our House fame. Absolutely adore the themes on that and the characters and the how she explored the world and made it absolutely fantastical, but somehow still made it make sense. So we have a very cutesy looking style because we have our own custom coded overlay which we use to kind of engross people in a bit more, including my players. But exploring deeper, more heavier tones. So it's a nice juxtaposition. But yeah, so the actual sort of genre or explanation of it, I guess, would be the idea of exploring higher power and how it can be mortalized, I guess is the word I would use. Mm-hmm. So the explanation of, because in D&D there is no question about whether the gods exist, like in our world, obviously there's people who figure it either way, but in D&D there is no question about it. It is a bad time to be an atheist in that world. So I thought it'd be a very good, interesting idea to explore what it'd be like if that power was bestowed upon just mortal kind. How would they go about it? And it was very interesting to see how the players went about that as well, giving them that power and seeing how they handle it. There was cases of absolute violence, and there was cases of their humanity coming through instead. So yeah, I would say it's exploring a power dynamic that the mortal race don't tend to be equipped with.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've definitely tried to explore that because I also try to DM as much as possible. Yeah. Unfortunately, most of my campaigns have fallen through, although I did finish one at least.
I think in all the years I've done it, I've been a part of one that's finished, and the other one I did is the only one. So I think I've only been a part of 2, and one of them I made. So
yeah. All right. So let's talk about the origin and the spark. You kind of answered the first question, inspired by the Owl House. What was the original spark behind like Hollowed Bonds, aside from like the world and being inspired by the Owl House?
So I can explain that a little bit more actually. So there was a secondary inspiration by it. Not so the Owl House was very much the genre toning and that sort of thing, but there's a game that was very well known called Divinity 2: Original Sin.
I think I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's essentially it predated Baldur's Gate 3 and Larian Studios. But me and my wife played that, and like that kind of explores a similar idea with the whole godlike power sort of thing, but in a different way. So that was definitely an inspiration by it as well. And as for the original spark, I think so. I'd done quite a few different campaigns with a good old friend of mine, who whose name goes by Lying in Bedmon. Fantastic DM, very, very intelligent in how he goes about it. Very difficult for me to follow in that because I ain't about that level of intelligence. But after doing all those campaigns, I think I finally realized that I like to be the one to see everybody else get surprised by, oh, I've set up this plan over here and all these hints and, oh, yeah, you figured it out. I like to be that one. I don't want to be the one trying to figure out somebody else's brain because I can barely figure out my own. So I think that's where that started.
Gotcha. Interesting. Do you remember the first scene or like first moment that you kind of imagined within when creating the world for Hollowed Bonds?
The first
Because if I remember correctly, it takes place in the world of, is it Kapori? If I remember.
So the world itself wasn't really given a name.
Okay.
So that's the
city. That's right.
Yeah, so I'll probably be exploring that a little bit more.
Okay.
In the next one, but yeah, no, the city of Hapori, was where a lot of this was based on the continent of Brimwall.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So I wanted to keep it contained to a continent just because I didn't have the level of experience to explore an entire world. And things get really thin and
yeah.
Yeah, that's where that all started. I kind of based it a little bit off of there was a campaign years ago, probably like about 13 years ago now, called ROL Play, with a few people who I used to know. There's a guy called It's Me JP who I think hosted it. And there was funny enough, a StarCraft 2 professional player called In Control, who, bless his heart, is no longer with us. That was the first ever D&D campaign I ever watched. And that's what I think the style of that was another way of, I kind of got that in.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. So one of my favorite questions that I came up with, what does the title Hollowed Bonds mean to you thematically?
So without thinking about it, I don't know why I seem to have this thing where all of my things begin with H. I don't know why. It just is. Like, I've had other series as well, like one ages ago called Howard Passed. I had no idea why. I don't know why this happened, but anyway. Yeah, Hollowed Bonds. I think the idea behind that was very thematically involved in campaign 1. It wasn't really the plan to have it as the overarching name for the group, but it kind of just happened, really. But it's the idea that we have roles in D&D that we fill. So sort of like these like hollowed characters that we make, that we insert ourselves into and fill up with our creativity as we go through. Like, no one knows how it's going to turn out, including the Dungeon Master themselves. But that's, and the bonds together, obviously the players coming together and sort of unhollowing it, I guess. But everything starts off with a hollowed bond. So that's how that came to me.
I like that. That's very creative. So one of the things that really does stand out about the campaign is its atmospheres. And that's what we're going to talk about, the world and atmosphere, which you actually partially answered.
Sorry.
Giving no, you're good. No, it's perfect. You said there was inspiration from Owl House and Divinity 2 Original Sin. How did you approach like building the world, specifically Hapori?
Terribly. I was being in it. I've noticed this, and I solved this as I was going through the first campaign. But I would plan everything,
Right.
and that's a terrible way to go about it. Like, I would plan like, oh, if they went around this corner, then what's going to happen here? If they go into this place, this person's here. Oh, they'll start that for the absolutely terrible way of doing it. But how I sort of went about it was I looked up a few ways of like how professionals did it, like Matt Mercer, Brandon Lee Mulligan, and that sort of thing. And I essentially had a multiple areas. So like these are the notes that I have to hit. These are the notes that they will get there at some point. It might be a really weird route, but they will get there. And session 0 we had, which we played off stream to get the players to know each other a bit better and to understand how everything kind of worked. With Hapori, I kind of wanted a melting pot of different races, classes, and stuff like that. That's one of the things I've always tried to remove myself from and ignore. Well, not ignore, but something I don't like in typical D&D that a lot of the things seem to focus on is the difference between the races.
Yeah.
So just innate racism for no reason.
Yeah.
I understand why it's in there, but I hate it being the main focus.
Yeah.
So Hapori was kind of a way for me to have kind of like a capital where there is a melting pot of every different race. So there's a central point where things can happen, is kind of how I wanted to imagine that city.
Gotcha. And can you remind me of the main races that we've played with in the first campaign?
Yeah, sure. So obviously human, natural. We had elf, orc, dwarf, merfolk, lizard folk.
It's those 6. I think those are the main 6. Yeah.
I think those were the main ones. Yeah. So, something I'm not very good at is working with other people's stuff. It's why it's why I homebrewed it myself, because for the love of God, I can't remember all the details about everything, and it's just like I hate not being able to recall it. And yeah, like the D&D like compendium and all is fantastic, but I can't if I can't remember it in the moment, I can't deal with it. So we took the races and we kind of built them up to be homebrewed and somewhat different. So, for example, the elves in Hollowed Bonds are, or at least were anyway, of an asexual race. So there was no reproduction or anything like that. And basically they were born from the tree that they had, essentially. So there's a lot of different ways you can play with that, and I wanted to try to explore sensitive subjects that I don't think get looked at very often, but in a different way. So that was one of them, and like the orcs, a lot of the time they tend to be just like bang 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 drums, that sort of thing. But I wanted them to be worked on with, so they deal with respect. You have to gain respect in order for you to be appreciated for this, but it's also a double-edged sword. If you lose that respect, then it's a huge thing in their society.
Mm-hmm.
So it still works towards a little bit of a thuggish lifestyle, but with a bit more of a meaning. But yeah, so it was that sort of thing. And the merfolk are probably one of the most interesting, because that's actually it's based off of character that my wife made. Because she has a merfolk in her story, because one of my biggest inspirations is all of her stuff. She is insanely good at character writing and world building. Like I don't even remotely compare. But the merfolk for her were able to travel on land because they would essentially store water in transparent parts of their body. So if they were to drink something, for example, it would go in and you could see it and they change and manipulate in that way. So I wanted to insert that that as a race into the world. Oh, frog folk. That was the other one. That was.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. Yeah, excuse me. I didn't really see a whole lot of like frog folk in Hollow Bones. Maybe I missed it. Huh?
So no, you're right. It was not. I gave the players like all these races they could choose from, and frog was not one of them.
Oh, okay.
But they were an offshoot of the merfolk race.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
There was only one or two characters who were, so it's completely understandable.
That's fair. Okay. When you began building the world, did you begin with lore? Well, I guess you began with the tone, mainly the Owl House tone. But did you begin with the lore, the geography, or like the characters?
The lore was definitely where I began.
Okay.
So I would begin. In fact, I might have the document still actually. But yeah, no, I definitely began with the lore. So how I built the I gained the main concept of what were the main event of what the world was going to be. So, in case of Hollow Bonds, obviously it was the idea of these three balanced powers, these three creative powers that essentially were to balance each other out and create life, and that's how this universe was managed. Until one of those forces suddenly just disappeared for no reason, well, at least that they knew. So, an opposing force then took further action. And then the gods who are beneath them were created and basically ended up kind of like enacting a coup to prevent this from happening. All of this happening obviously under mortal eyes, who they had no idea any of this was going on. So suddenly, one day, bam, a cataclysmic event, and they have to deal with it with the assistance of the now damaged gods who can't enact what they need to, so they acquire mortal help. So then when I've got that concept, so, right, cool. Now I can work with, what characters do you guys want to make? Okay, so you're making these, so I need to flesh these gods out a little bit more and flesh this race out a little bit more, and that's basically how it starts to go. But I had an entire document of like how each race would react to each other, how even down to the point, this is why I said terribly, like down to the point of like what gestures they would make to each other, what cutlery do they use, that all that sort of nonsense. But yeah, so it kind of ends up building from there.
Interesting. It's like touching on race interactions, especially like compared to D&D, but without all the like D&D racism that we often see in D&D.
Yeah, there's nothing. I mean, what? Be careful with how I was going to say that. There's nothing wrong with exploring that sort of thing at all. I completely understand it. For me, it's just a personal preference of. Yeah. It's been explored so much. I want to explore something different.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and obviously, it is unfortunately a problem that does exist. And it is something that should be done respectfully and researched properly. So
absolutely. How much of it was mapped out beforehand versus discovered through play?
So I think I touched on it earlier, but essentially I had sort of like, so when I first started, I had I had the competition that they all approached for. The Lord of Habori puts forth a challenge to find like powerful people who can essentially prove themselves worthy. Unbeknownst to everybody there, he is working under one of the fallen gods who is trying to help find vessels for the gods to basically inhabit. So I start with that, go through all of that, and then I kind of let them go a little bit loose and try and kind of like explore their characters a little bit, find their way. Because some of the players also hadn't actually played D&D before either, or were quite new to it. So I needed to ease them in a little bit. And then I kind of like throw problems at them or new characters and stuff like that. See what sticks. And then eventually, once they had done enough, gotten up a few levels, and I felt like they had learned everything and kind of like made their mark on this world, at that point, okay, right, competition's over now. You can go claim your prize. That's when the next thing I needed was the big cataclysmic event. The sky cracks open. Demons and monsters start pouring through it, with the hollowed god, one of the main forces of creation, coming through and essentially trying to attain what he considers this world is his. So he's taking it for himself. And with another force, Vida, who was essentially the life fist is what I think I named him as. So the idea that he, I liked the idea of like like controlling, kind of like a Lord of Death, but like rather than focusing on the death aspect of it, focusing on the life force of it. So the ability to control life. And you might be able to tell as well at one point, I think that's when around about Puss in Boots came out, then the movie, and Death was portrayed in that. That was so cool.
That was good.
I know, I absolutely adored him. But he kind of ended up becoming like a very main focus towards Thrask, or Kestin's character, a little bit, with his way of stepping in front and kind of trying to protect everybody. And I really wanted to make sure that they knew that they were not. He kind of, that wasn't planned actually. It was very helpful for him to do that, because he used a very powerful spell at that point. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was trying to contain Vida, and just no, nothing. You cannot handle this at the moment. It's something I wanted to beat down into them. It's like, you are not ready for this. You need to get out of here. But after that, it's like, oh, holy crap.
You're fine.
Okay. Yeah, they've gone down now. They really need to like figure out and build themselves up while the world around them is corrupting. And I wanted the whole continent to change and just feel strange, and see how they dealt with it. And then obviously they needed to go further. But yeah, the point is, I had like 4 or 5 different things that I needed to hit. I would let them do what they wanted in the middle, and then as it got towards the point where I wanted to, I'd kind of veer them off a little bit.
Awesome. And if I remember correctly, in that particular episode, there was an animatic with I think there was another voice actor that was featured in that particular.
Yes. Some VA I know very well, with an incredibly awesome name called Justice Washington. Like, how much more of an awesome name. That guy has the smoothest voice I've ever heard in my life. Like, I could have done the villain, but I knew he was going to be it. But yeah, no, so that animatic was done by my wife. We would have gone full-blown animation, but we just don't have the time. But we really wanted to kind of there's certain moments we really wanted to impact into people. It's like, this is what's happening. There's no mistake of like, oh my god, there's things have gone to hell.
Yeah.
So anytime we got a chance to do that, it was so good.
Yeah, it kind of like felt like for like the first half of the campaign, it felt like Steven Universe plot-wise, in a way. Like the first few episodes are like small cookie cutter like scenarios, but then it just evolves into like major crises situations.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like it's like you said, it is very much like the first couple of episodes were very much like a few slapstick sort of situations.
Yeah.
Like I said, the characters were everyone was trying to get used to their characters, and kind of how they all worked. But everyone's all the best of friends, and they're all very excited to get into it. Which is awesome. They've all confirmed that they want to do it again. We have most of the characters already set up. There's just one that we haven't got figured out fully yet, but I've already got most of the stuff figured out. Presently I'm working on the map at the moment.
Okay.
But I'm very excited to get into it.
I am too.
It's one of those things of it's not going out until
of course
it's good.
Oh, of course.
But hopefully it shouldn't be too much longer now.
Yes. Well, luckily you're not building this world alone. You are building it alongside a cast that brings it to life. So going to our next segment, which is talking about the cast you're working with amazing performers like Kestin Howard, PM Seymour, your wife Amy Cowley, and EssiVT. So what has that collaboration been like?
I mean, so hilariously enough, the original cast didn't actually have Kestin and Amy.
Really?
Yeah. I had two other people who were going to do it, but they had to pull out, unfortunately. But to be honest, like I think it did work. I mean, it's a very much a shame, but I think it worked out in the end because we all know each other a bit better. We've all worked for each other for a long time. And to be honest, I couldn't ask for a better group, really. Like Kestin, the studious note taker, and like Pat with his infinite charisma and how he plays his characters. Like Amy, I've already mentioned, like the amount of character writing she has for her Bound in Blue series blows my mind. And like Essie as well, like she was also a professional voice actor as well, or actress, who also did a lot of audio engineering and stuff like that, and is doing VTube work now. But they have so much spontaneous energy. They made so many. They all made their own episodes somewhere along the line, it was so funny when we first heard Kestin's, because he always does an accent every time. None of us had heard it. So when he first came out with it on session 0, it's like, what do you do? I am Thrask. What?
It's so good, though.
I know it absolutely made it. But yeah, no, I wanted to make sure each of them had their own special moments, their own time for their characters to put forth, and I didn't. The story definitely was more railroaded by myself. It was definitely them playing my story. But so in the next campaign, I'm trying to lean off of that a little bit more and kind of let them kind of figure out what the ending will be.
That's amazing. You did mention earlier that some of them have not played D&D before.
Yes. So Essie hadn't played.
Okay.
D at all, but they'd always wanted to. Amy had played a couple with me before. I think about like maybe 2 or 3, maybe. Kestin had gone full nuts into D&D.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he'd gone nuts with it. Pat, I think, had played some, but I can't remember exactly how many. But Essie was the one mainly who hadn't played them. But I think it helped the fact that this was only my second time DMing as well. So I think it kind of helped all of us were in kind of like a vaguely similar place to kind of help each other with it.
Yeah. Yes, I knew Kestin had because I've watched Bemi's campaigns. Rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace.
Yeah. Does working with experienced voice actors change the way you DM?
To be honest, I think it helps. I think with any creatives in general, but especially with VAs, it takes the load off in a lot of ways. I've been a part of some behind the scenes with just friends and acquaintances and stuff like that, and it's definitely a more difficult experience, I think, when there's no there's no, I don't want to say effort. There's no push to ingrain yourself in it. I don't want to hear about, I want to hear a kobold talking about their PlayStation 5. It's yeah, it takes you out of it. But like, I much prefer when there obviously there does not have to be whatsoever. Like everyone plays the way they do, but for me personally, it definitely, I feel like it makes it a lot easier when people are getting involved. You don't have to do a voice, that's just not that, you don't have to do that. But just ingraining yourself in the as the character in the world, I think definitely helps a lot.
Definitely. How do you balance guiding a narrative while letting players take ownership or agency?
I think being willing to kind of just let that happen. So you get more as you get more experience with it. I have this way more towards the end, and for the next one it'll be way easier. But like I said, I have these points of where I need them to get to, but how they get there, you just let it happen. Just let it go at the end of the day. Yeah, realistically, like I want them to explore their own stuff. So sometimes during an episode, I would keep an eye on like, what are they finding interesting? What are they more focused towards? Before we even started the whole thing, I had everyone fill out a questionnaire of what they prefer to do. So, role play, combat, puzzles and stuff like that. And whichever they didn't want, puzzles was not a big thing for them. So I didn't include that many of those really. But yeah, I'd focus, like, because sometimes they would go off on a completely different tangent, and this is just a typical DM thing, and it makes absolutely no sense. But the best thing about being the DM for me anyway is that you can make that nonsense integral. You can make it important. They've gone into a store and they've noticed there's a pile of you go in there to buy some rope or something like that. They're charging you 20 gold for it, and behind the counter you see some cheap hemp rope, and you're what? So then all of a sudden, why is he hiding that from me? Is he just a cheapskate, or does he want more? Is he greedy? Does he want more money? Or is there something deeper going on? Is there something under this? Blah blah blah. You can go absolutely nuts with it, and that's what I love. And to be honest, a lot of the time, oh my god, here we go. A lot of the time, the players will come up with something way cooler than you ever thought of, and like I'm trying to see if I can remember something that they did that was like. I had to play off as like, yeah, that happened.
I think there was like a running gag with Ica, Essie's character Ica, with the coffee obsession.
That's just her.
Oh, really?
Sorry, she's a coffee addict. I think one of the things I can probably think of actually is the Babooga.
That one.
So I planned the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it was based off the Lust the Argonian made, and that was all hilarious. But the idea of them being more, they invested, they did that. I had no intention of it being other than a joke, and it ended up becoming one of my favorite characters in the entire series because with her, I keep looking good because I've got a poster of there. I wanted to explore her as the idea of her being trans.
Okay.
Because the idea with the lizard folk in there is they're all very much focused on learning from their past and all that. And when they shed their skin, they keep it as kind of like an idea of learning from those things. So they're very much stuck in their ways. So the idea of a lizard folk, I had her as like a musician and like a dancer and a golden serpent who wanted the gaze of everyone, not just her own race. So I wanted the idea that she didn't feel comfortable in where she was to kind of emulate, because I've got quite a few trans friends and I spoke to them about it. So the idea that she wanted to change her body to kind of be basically the way she could enchant everyone, not just certain her own fellow lizard folk. So, and she, like I said, she ended up becoming one of my favorite characters. And I absolutely adore how she turned out. But yeah, no, anytime they asked about those books, it was completely made up.
I like that. That's funny.
I absolutely adored that so much.
Yes, I definitely admire the way you approached Babuga in the sense of inclusivity. I also have several trans and non-binary friends as well, who I just pretty much vibe with, and I try to be as respectful as I can as well when it comes to approaching that type of subject.
But yeah, no, at the end of the day, like it's I tend to find the best way to do it is not to bring massive attention to it. You just make them a good character.
Absolutely.
She was a very powerful woman who did what she wanted. She didn't let anybody stand in the way from it, but it wasn't. I always dislike it when it's kind of like a, hey, oh, this character, they're gay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I don't need to know. Like, but you just are. That's great.
Like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and the fact that I had her working with an orc called Marzipan who loved to dress in maid outfits, because we had an orc maid cafe in Hapori.
Oh, nice.
Because I loved that idea. That just sounded so good to me. Like, it just opens up so much, and like I always find it ridiculous when people don't cookie cut their characters so much.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much you can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So much you can explore.
Absolutely. Has there been a moment at the table that genuinely surprised you? I mean, you did talk about one of them, about Kestin's interaction with, was it Vita, the Hollow God? One of the two.
Vita when he stepped forward.
Vita, yeah.
Oh god. Okay, one moment that really shocked me. Let's see. I remember one funny one, which was when they were in the Merfolk city. The name escapes me. And they basically were tasked with essentially a heist mission, trying to get into the capital to meet with the leadership of there, because it was kind of like a no war in Ba Sing Se situation. And Aiko was sort of like a street urchin and a sort of like a bit of a rascally criminal at the time. And I don't know why they decided to do this, but the first person they send forward to the guards to try to get in is Aika. So they roll to try and like talk to the guard, and they rolled a nat 1. It was like, and so the guard was like, right, you seem a bit familiar, you do. All right, let me have a look. As I'm talking about this, they ask if they can roll again for something they were saying. Yep, sure. Nat fucking 20. Within the same sentence, they managed to twist the entire narrative of it. So like, oh yes, I was a street urchin criminal, but I've joined up with this knight, and like we're trying to better ourselves. It's just like, oh god, you're right. You're exactly what we need. Here's this pass to get in, guys. My mouth was just like.
Like, what?
I've never seen it done within the same goddamn sentence. That is insane.
Oh gosh, one of my players in a previous campaign, he was a paladin fighter multi-class, and he encountered a god, and he had one of the items he found was a soul coin, and within that, he trapped the god in the soul coin. that like, I was not expecting him to do that.
No, not at all.
That's not something you would expect from any player, unless you want to break the game.
I mean, the great thing though, like, and I remember one of the campaigns I was involved. I think it was the very first one I ever did. Actually, my character was a fighter trying to dig a hole. I rolled 3 nat 1s in a row, and I cut my own foot off with a spade.
Oh no!
Like it's those moments that people remember, like the absolute shock and awe. And there's probably some more that I'm not thinking of, but there's definitely some moments that gave me like goosebumps. And
oh yeah, absolutely.
My Amy, my wife, actually drew for me a couple of the scenes that kind of did that for me. I'll copy the image. Do we have a chat in this thing? I think
we do. There's also a share option as well.
Let's see. I could just post the image. There you go.
Okay.
That was one.
Let's see if I can see it. Oh, there it is. Oh my gosh, they look so good.
I know. I cried when I saw some of these. And feel free to use them in the video or show them. That's perfectly fine.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, the first one is the moment that Kestin's character, Thrask, visited his people back. And the idea was they had to kind of like gather their people together and accept them for who these mortals for becoming essentially new gods. And absolutely. This was one of the things he did underground, where all of his people were hiding, and he set forth an image of Zashisk, who was the previous god. And the second one was the moment in Ica's backstory, he had befriended essentially a dragon turtle, and this was a moment where he basically had to try and ask and get it to help lift this city up with a bunch of other ones. But the dragon turtles are very proud creatures. They don't just listen to anyone. And the sheer size and volume of that moment, it was just I absolutely adored it.
Yeah.
So I can't remember what the original question was, but that's the that is the
oh
answer.
No, you pretty much answered that question. It was a moment at the table that genuinely surprised you.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that was the one. Before we jump into the next segment, there's actually a question that I've been wanting to ask.
Oh yeah, please.
At the beginning of most episodes, you have like I guess a feature where you roll for ducks.
Okay.
So, where did that come from?
Okay, so the old campaigns I have on my channel were, like I said, DM'd by my old friend Lying. And there was a campaign called Cityscape, which was the idea of that one was the whole campaign was based in one city. We never left. We did actually finish it. But there was one episode where I'm trying to remember. There was one episode where I think like we were near, or like some cataclysmic thing was happening, something big, and then we were near like a situation where there was some ducks, like the DM was describing a situation where there was like some ducks in like a stream or something like that, and I think one of the characters just made like did a roll of some kind, like a D100 or something like that, and they managed to get it. So the entire episode, I think the DM said, if you roll a 100 or a 20 or whatever it was, I'll make this whole episode about ducks.
I think it was a 100.
Yeah, or whatever it was. And so ever since then, we've done a roll for ducks, because if it happens and we get 100, the episode has to be about ducks.
But you would also, like, even regardless of what you roll, you kind of integrate ducks in some smaller way.
Yeah, just as a thing, because like, I mean, we had 2 years of episodes and we didn't get 100 ones.
Yeah,
so that's how rare it is. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's just a nice little funny thing. Just I find it helps the players settle in a bit, gets the chat involved, and just kind of like it allows me to add a moment of comedic value, just to kind of like settle things in and get everyone involved.
Yeah, I think one of the moments involving ducks, it was while the group was hiking up the mountain, and there was a segment of like froze, like they were like frozen ducks.
Oh yeah.
And Ezra was like, "No, why would you say that?"
I remember that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, campaigns like this, they go beyond quests. They start to feel like emotional journeys, which is the next segment, themes and story depth. What themes do you find yourself returning to in Hollowed Bonds?
Oh. So the next season will be focusing on it's in the same world.
Mhm.
So essentially it's going to be, and I'll have to double check my notes, but I bet it's set 1,000 years later.
Okay.
And the idea is essentially dealing with the consequences of everything they did.
Wow.
So, now these mortals have become gods. That already sparks so many questions. What do people think about this? Some people naturally are going to hate it. Some are going to love it. Some will try to find that source of power for themselves. And the idea for this one, I'll have a quick look at because I've given the players a synopsis already,
Mhm.
so they can create their characters. I'll have a look and see if it's not too spoilery.
Okay.
And I'll give you what I gave them.
Okay.
I don't think it should be. Where are you? All right, let's read it together and let's see if it is spoilery or not. So what I've given them was the story thus far since the Hollowing, which was essentially the event where the Hollowed God came and the world started to kind of like corrupt and turn into what essentially what he envisioned the world to be. An event that shook the world to its very core within the land of Brimwall, at its very center, forever bearing the scars of this confrontation between mortals and gods. And the very focus of creation, the hearts and minds of mortal kind have been divided. Those who welcomed the new gods, born mortal, rose to celestial heights. Those who felt betrayal, frightened, jealous, worthless, and those who simply wished for peace. One thing was agreed upon throughout the minds of mortal kind, simultaneously felt the freedom of exploration beyond this land previously not experienced by even the merfolk of Seren. While Brimwall seeks to heal among the combined leadership of each race, a select few, who have become known as the Apostates, proposed a radical plan. Seek new land where mortal kind could flourish away from the mistakes of celestial beings. After gathering a sizable following, these people embarked on this very mission with the promise to return once this utopia was forged. So
Wow.
that's the plan for the next one. So like I said, it's the idea of it is the world and everyone dealing with what just happened.
Wow.
And not everybody, obviously people are going to go about this in completely different ways, and there's new characters I'm so excited to explore, and I absolutely cannot wait. I've got so many plans for how to do this, and I'm hoping the scope wise to make the previous campaign look small compared to what we have planned for this next one. And like I said, I want to give a lot of control to my players, to the point where even they get to choose basically how this whole ends.
Wow. Amazing. Excuse me. All right. So what emotional experience do you hope that viewers can walk away with?
Do you mean for the next campaign or just in general?
I would say for those who haven't seen the first campaign of Hollowed Bonds, like what do you hope that they would walk away with?
Something I think that me and my wife have always tried to do is we've always tried to push people to explore deeper meaning and enhance their own creative thoughts and stuff like that. Even in the YouTube world, it's actually the entire reason we did Harrowed Past was because we wanted we were seeing a lot of role plays at the time for Minecraft coming out, and people just weren't taking the proper thought, and a lot of people were just kind of abusing the concept that they could do. And some bigger creators even were, the stuff they were making was, to be quite frank, just not what they could, not anything close to what they could be producing. So we wanted to show people, even just kids, that hey, if you just go and learn these ideas, and if you go learn these things you can do, you can just mass produce these anytime you want. Like, the whole point was like, this is what we could do, and we were only using 2 people. You can do whatever you like, and to be honest, it worked. We saw so many people making new stuff after that, and like really exploring the what they could do. And so I think with the D&D, I think I want people to introspectively look at themselves and kind of like just want to create more, and like push the boundary, and like really just have fun with it and dive in.
Amazing. How do you handle how do you handle darker material or tension in a way that remains safe and collaborative?
So a very, very important thing to do, first off, is to talk to your players about. We actually have a section in our we have a Holobonds Discord, and I have a section that I can see that the others can put into, of taboos that they do not want touched. And I put some in there as well, like, these will not be touched. We will not be delving into this. Something I also want to do for the next one is I want to put warnings of like, hey, this is the world of D&D. It is very famously known for exploring darker themes. But if you are going to explore these darker themes, then I definitely think it's important to treat them with respect. They should never be made a joke of.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If there is a character that is more on a jokey side, who does have some kind of issue or some kind of thing that you want to touch on, then again, it's not used for laughs. Maybe they're using it as a way to cope for this situation, or it's not like, oh, I have this problem, oh, that's okay, it's not important. It's something that needs to be, again, just treated with respect, really. It's something that should be studied. You shouldn't go in ham-fisted with no plan. That's one of those things I will actively avoid doing impulsively in the moment. So if there is a situation where something's going on, then it's something I've planned already. It's not something that's just happened in the moment. I think an example of that would be in the first campaign. There was a general store owner who it was a male human and a female human, I think it was. And he essentially, without putting it out there in obvious thing, he was clearly quite abusive. He was not a good person. Obviously, just didn't do any of that. But like, obviously, you don't go into detail about that sort of stuff. But you can tell the story and tell the character, and it's like, you can tell he's not a good person. There was reasons for that, but like, he was a part of this criminal underwork and sort of thing like that. But I gave the players the situation, and you can kind of see obviously what's going on, and they had the chance to actually engage with it. And I think that's another important thing as well, is those situations. I don't want them to, if they are happening, I want the players to be able to do something about it, or enact in some way to make it better. Because unfortunately, the world we live in, that's not always the case. We can't always do that.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, we are powerless to do so. So giving them that power, I think, to actually enact and do something. And in this case, they got him arrested, and she was free to do what she wished, and she lived a much better life for it. And so I think that's a good way to do it.
That's actually that's an amazing way to do it. Whenever I go to another table, or if I'm DMing, I always make sure to touch like like send a form of veils to my players, or they get sent one to me of what gets touched on, what is like okay, like a green, yellow, red light system.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, so some people haven't dealt with certain things, so they're okay. But like, there's certain themes I just don't think should be touched on in
Oh,
general.
absolutely.
There's just no need. But like you said, it's just. I mean, obviously, in my case, doing it with a Twitch chat, there's only so much you can.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
yeah. Obviously,
Gotcha.
I can't. You obviously can't keep it for everyone, so that's why. You can warn them and say, hey, just ahead of schedule, guys. This is D&D. Things can happen. If you are uncomfortable with what's happening, please just feel free to mute it or leave. You do not need to be here for this situation. Blah blah blah.
Absolutely.
But that's why it's just best to mostly avoid it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. What makes tabletop storytelling powerful compared to scripted media?
So you have way more control with scripted media. There's definitely you like, because I keep saying it, like my wife writing her own story and stuff like that. Now she'll come down and tell me about the characters and like, oh, I'm having them experience this and do this, and with the tabletop, you can't do that so much. So you have to kind of go with the flow. There's certain things you can control, and how certain characters are going to enact, but I think the best thing about it is the fact that you don't even know how it's going to go. So I think that's so cool to me so realistically, you do not have the level of control. And if the DMs who do enact that kind of control, it's not fun.
Yeah.
The whole point is to let go, and you're all creating this situation. So I don't think it's you definitely don't have that level of control of it. You have a big level of control, I think, with the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where you can enact that. It's like, these are the physics, these are the laws, this is how this works. But how they respond to it, you have no power whatsoever. I can guide them away from this door as much as possible. If they want to go through it, they're going to go through it.
Gotcha. Especially with voiceover actors who are just reading up from a script. Usually a lot of the time they're in a home studio or a studio like by themselves behind like in some cases behind a like what's like in the studio while the voice director is on the other side guiding you. Yeah. Like there's really not like what's the best way to put this? Not really a whole lot of human like interaction when you're just you're just reading off a script and trying to convey what a character is saying through the guidance of a voice actor, whereas with storytelling media sometimes you're actually able to interact with other players and the Dungeon Master.
Well, one of the things with voice work that and one of the best lines I think I've heard, and what I tend to use now, is you're breathing life into the character.
Yeah.
It's not your character. You don't decide how everything goes. Something that some people need to learn.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're just breathing life into somebody else's creation.
Yeah.
So, it's very different to how the D&D works, and that's something that, while yes, the VAs have way more experience with the improv and stuff like that, and breathing life into character, it's their character, so it's a very different experience.
Absolutely. I'd like to just peek slightly behind the screen. So what does the prep process look like between sessions?
So prep starts basically the second I turn this stream off. Usually I'm already thinking like, okay, they did this, and this, so that means this happens, and this happens. So, and I need them to get to this. So the next day I'll be like, okay, right, so this happened, so now I can have this, and I'll write down usually like, okay, the next, like, maybe a good idea of how to explore this. So, oh, this character ended up killing this guy. Okay, so how can I make that interesting or how does that affect the next session? So usually I'll have an end goal for what I want for the next session, and I then go through each of the characters and see if what I can do for them to do in that episode, because it's very important to me to not exclude somebody. Like, yes, there'll be a focus on one character maybe on a certain episode, but they will always have something to do,
Yeah.
even if it's just small. Sometimes, it's like, okay, well, because they did this, they need to travel over here now. That's going to take a day's worth of travel. Okay, I'll get some encounters up that I can, some random encounters, and then how can I interlace those into the story? But yeah, so that's usually how it goes for me anyway.
Gotcha. Are you a heavy note taker? Are you more improvisational, or kind of like a mix of both?
I'm a mix of both. So I have heavy notes on the world and its lore.
Mm-hmm.
And very important characters I'll have some descriptions of, and maybe like how they would respond to certain acts and certain things. But from day-to-day stuff, it's all improv.
Gotcha. What has been the most challenging part of running this campaign?
I think, to be honest, the most challenging part was probably to making sure it was interesting for everyone to still want to come and view and play. Making sure that, because obviously I've also got the viewers to think about. I can't have a situation where it's like, yeah, take a 5-10 minutes to think about this answer. It's like I can't do that. We have to keep things going and make sure it's so. That's probably making sure it goes speedily but without breaking immersion was probably the hardest part. Thankfully, everybody was very helpful for that.
Amazing. And what has been the most rewarding?
Oh god. I think the final episode was really something special, I think, for me. Having everything I'd planned actually come together and it actually finish. Because that final episode, I had a moment where I had a character of mine called Regler, who was the human god's vessel, make a massive speech to everybody in the underground. And after I'd finished it, I hadn't realized, but I had everybody in the call, including and in the chat, just going, "Oh wow!" I think that really made me feel so good, and giving them a chance. I think there was a point as well where I described their transformation into the god, for them to become the new gods, and hearing them just like, "Oh yeah, that's so cool," and just, I don't know, I think just hearing the physical words of your work being appreciated was so good, because it's not, you don't hear it as often as you'd like, from everybody. Like, so many people don't hear it, and to actually get that was, I think, really special. So that final episode for me, I think, was the most rewarding.
Absolutely. I enjoyed that episode as well.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. As we look ahead, looking forward, so without spoilers, what can viewers look forward to going into the next campaign?
So there's I mean, so much. Myself personally, I'm far more experienced with DMing now. I've learned a lot more. I've got so much more plans on how to enact things and make things a lot more fantastical and interesting, rather than just giving answers now and railroading. My players are also more experienced. Some of them have the characters they're making this time are a lot more elaborate and a lot more what they really want to do. So because now they've got the experience for it. The place that the location this is going to be taking place in, I would say, is probably 3 times bigger than the first continent that we enacted in. The story for this next one links everything in the first one together and explains how everything has happened. With the but I've left it with the ability to be able to almost do anything. So anything can happen, and it all makes sense. But even I don't know. I've got it set up, but even I don't know how it's going to end. So it'll be in the hands of my players as well as some NPC characters potentially, depending on how it goes. But the inspiration for this campaign was a few different things. One of the biggest ones probably being Arcane.
Arcane League of Legends.
Yes, that was a very big inspiration for this next one. So I'm hoping some people will see a few hints of that as well. But yeah, it's just bigger and better in every way for everything. So I've got way more tools to work with this time as well, and I honestly can't wait.
Awesome. Do you see Hallowed Bonds as like a long form saga or kind of like a contained arc?
This will be a contained. So this next season will be the end of this world.
Okay.
So this will be the finale, probably, I imagine, for this world's setup. So the next one after this will be like potentially a completely new world and how everything works and how the system and all that sort of stuff.
Amazing. Is there a dream moment you're hoping the party eventually reaches?
I mean, I'm very, very, very excited because even my wife doesn't know. I'm very excited for them to see the cause and the reason for everything that's happened. I'm very excited to see what they and the people who follow it think of why and how this all happened, and I'm very excited for that initial realization of like, oh shit, that's okay, that's why, and this, and how are we gonna, because there, without spoiling it, there is for the finale of this, there is a chance that there will be in-party fighting. Like,
Ooh.
There is no guarantee that they're all going to think the same way about how this goes. So something I want to focus on is very much gray. Like, there's no black and white. It's
Absolutely.
all whole ton of gray in this. So it's very, very likely they won't all agree.
Oh yeah, which is going to be very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, so we got a quick lightning round before we wrap up. These are all just fun questions. Favorite NPC so far?
Oh God. Okay. Probably the Chlorophyll Brothers.
Oh, I think I remember the Chlorophyll Brothers. Can you explain just a little bit further? I may not remember.
So they're elves and they praise their gods in like different ways, man. But like they chose to breathe in their god like through the nature of leaves and all that sort of stuff. I
That's
absolutely
great.
I loved it. Basically, they're just potheads. They're just two potheads who were thrown out of essentially their elven land because they were just potheads, but they ended up staying throughout the whole campaign pretty much, and like one of them ends up becoming like this like amazing character. Those two were probably my favorites.
That's awesome. Most unexpected player decision. I think you've touched on this, but what was the most unexpected?
Probably. So I love my boy PM, but there was a lot of times where it was a case of like, he'd do. I'd be like, huh? What? It was awesome and it always turned out great. But sometimes they'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. What? I think there was a famous point where, because obviously you should, you tell the DM everything.
Yeah.
You tell the DM all your. I need to know everything. And at one point, bless his heart, I really enjoyed how he does this, but there was one point where he just blurts out that his character had a son. I had no idea. And I think in the episode, because I used my VTube model during that, but I think you can see me just go. It's like, okay.
That you just gotta roll with the punches.
Pretty much, yeah. But we've all learned, and he's told me everything this time.
All right. One word to describe the campaign right now.
One word?
Yeah, one word.
I guess introspective. The whole point, for especially in the first one, the whole point of having the gods, kind of infused into their bodies was, as kind of a little bit of a way for me to kind of have a lore accurate reason to be able to guide them if they needed help. And a very important episode of that was when they first came into contact with them when they went up the mountain. The way I set up, because I took them each into a separate call, and we did each one separately. And the whole point was kind of to talk to them as the DM to a player, but like, this is what your character probably needs. This is what you should focus on, sort of thing. Like, you need to open up, explore more. You need to not put yourself at risk so often. That sort of thing. So, introspection, I think, is probably the word. Or introspective.
Yeah. If Hulled Bonds had a soundtrack vibe, what would it sound like?
So funnily, I might be able to show you, but I've been in contact with a music artist who has created a theme, a custom crafted theme for our next one. I don't know if I have it on hand. No, I don't think so. But it'll be released with the trailer.
Oh, absolutely.
But the next theme is very, because the next season is called Hollowed Bonds Primordial. And it's the music is, the genre for this one is very much like, if anybody's familiar with StarCraft 2, the Zerg, Heart of the Swarm sort of thing, like boom, 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 that's that sort of thing. If you listen to the Heart of the Swarm theme song, it's very much like tribal-esque, drums mixed with some like EDM sort of concept. Like, I really want this one to be all about creation and being able to craft the world however we see fit and really make any decision make sense.
Absolutely. I actually do like that vibe. One thing you wish more people understood about being a DM?
I mean, funnily, I feel very much impostery for this because, like I said, I haven't DM'd much compared to a lot of it. I've played D&D a long time, but I haven't DM'd much. But one thing people wouldn't say about DMing more, I think probably just the sheer amount of work that goes behind it, because what anybody else is seeing is the result of hundreds of hours of thinking, scripting, researching, making, drawing, crafting, creating. You're just seeing what the bit that makes they figured out that makes sense. So even just a simple thank you at the end of each session you do, just something as simple as that. Even if it's a pre-made campaign, that's just hard to follow. I can't. I tried to do one, a pre-planned campaign before, a one shot. Couldn't do it because I didn't know any of the information. I had to stop to read it and look it up. And yeah, the amount of detail and stuff that goes behind the scenes is insane. So I think that's probably just a simple thank you to your DM. That's all you need.
Oh, absolutely. And even even the DM asking for any feedback definitely helps them improve as a DM.
Yes, yeah, and like you mentioned, on the other side of it as well, the DM also needs to keep in contact, communicate with their players, and make sure it's not all about them. It's a collaborative team effort.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about Hollowed Bonds. It has been such a pleasure exploring the craft and care behind this campaign.
Oh, thank you so much. Like, I mean, we don't get to talk about this sort of stuff very often. So when I got your email about it, I was so hyped. So thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to neurodivergent all over the
Absolutely. I honestly did not think that anybody would anybody would respond.
No, if you want people to respond, just talk about their own project. They'll
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Before we wrap up, where can people best follow your work and support your campaign?
So the campaign is mostly on twitch.tv/evildoers, EVILDOERZ. But it is also being uploaded to YouTube on the first campaign is on the channel of the same name, but I've created a new channel just called Hollowed Bonds, where it will be going up from now on YouTube. So those are the main places you can do that. We have a Discord as well, where I put it when we're live for it, and that's where you'll probably be seeing a lot of the information of new trailers and stuff like that. I do put it up on Twitter and Blue Sky and stuff, but those will be the main places you'll find me.
Absolutely. I can't wait for the second season of Hollowed Bonds. I'm really excited. Now I just have to go through the whole campaign and keep stats, because that's what I did for Bemmy's campaigns.
Oh, really?
I would mark down number of natural ones, number of natural 20s, how much damage each player took, how much they dealt. That's pretty much what I did.
I may have to get you on Discord then, because that would be great.
That would be awesome. And thank you, everyone, for watching or listening. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow for more creative deep dives here on Voices and Visions. I'm JL Graves, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!
Bye!